And welcome everybody to the 190th episode of the Minnesota Skills and Stewardship Series. We're talking about accessibility in the outdoors today, which is really a cool topic, and I'd love to have Evan join us. A couple of our DNR staff that work in some accessibility issues join us today. So welcome everybody. Andrea, our new R3 Partnership Coordinator, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you run with the introductions.
Awesome. Thank you, Benji. As Benji said, my name is Andrea Jones-Klein. I am the new-ish, as of January, DNR R3 Partnership Coordinator. Really happy to see you all here today. Thanks for joining, and a big thank you to our guests for making time in your schedules to join us. Something that we see here in the DNR is people aging out of hunting and fishing, often due to disability, or this can also happen by becoming disabled at a younger age. And people start ceasing to engage in hunting, fishing, and closely related outdoor sports like they did when they were able-bodied. There are some clear barriers that deter people, such as accessing hunting and fishing spots, no longer being able to function well in the early mornings, no longer being able to do these sports alone when they may have done them alone in the past, and no longer having equipment to meet their needs, among other issues. Today we're joined with guests Evan Newton and Dale Tribby, who are members of the Minnesota organization Capable Partners. These good folks join us today to tell us about the ways that Capable Partners is making hunting and fishing accessible again to disabled people, and to share some of the incredible work that they've been doing. Starting with Evan. Evan, thanks so much for joining us today. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about yourself and about Capable Partners and the work that you do with them?
Sure, thank you. Capable Partners has teamed up with the DNR and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for maybe more than 30 years now. I've been a member of Capable Partners for 20 years. I'm a past president, current board member, and treasurer of the organization. I also coordinate a trout fishing trip to Lanesboro in June of each year, and I coordinate our archery deer hunting in the Minnesota Valley National Wildlife Refuge. I've been a wheelchair user for 23 years now, and my disease is progressive, so I need more help as time goes on. Let's start the PowerPoint, please, Benji or Andrea.
Okay, good stuff. And before we go into your PowerPoint, we'd love to hear about the variety of services that Capable Partners provides. I'm sure you'll cover some of that in your PowerPoint as well.
Right. Next page, please. We do all kinds of hunting and fishing. We're the largest organization in the U.S. with over 250 members. We have about 55% of our members are disabled. This is our 38th year of getting people outdoors. We have over 40 events a year and something in every single month of the year, including January and February, when we have a fairly stout ice fishing program with 3 ice castles around the state. I used to hunt out or fish out on the ice. Now that I've been in the ice castles, I'll never be out on the ice again. It is so much more comfortable and, for me, much more productive. We are all volunteer-run organization, nonprofit, 501c3. Most of our outings are around the metro area, whether it be Sherburne National Wildlife Refuge, a county park up in Cambridge, Carlos Avery, the Vermilion Highlands down in Rosemount. As I mentioned, in Bloomington, we have the Minnesota Valley National Wildlife Refuge. We do some pheasant hunts near Little Falls. We do a deer hunt out at La Caparral, which is Montevideo. And of course, the trout fishing event down in Lanesboro on the city ponds, where the DNR stocks it for us prior to our showing up. And this year we had 55 people there, all of whom went home with a limit of trout. So great time. Which wild game, Andrea was asking. So walleye, trout, bass, muskie. We do a muskie event on Minnetonka every year. Panfish, of course. Walleye up on Mille Lacs. We have our ice fishing shacks, as I mentioned, all heated, all wheelchair accessible. We do waterfowl hunting, ducks, geese, even sandhill cranes. Upland, we do turkey and pheasants. Our pheasant hunts are some of the most popular hunts we do each year. And then, of course, deer hunting, big game in Minnesota, whether it be shotgun, rifle, or archery.
Wow, that is so many different options for folks. Incredible.
Yeah, here's a couple of our members who've taken some pheasants. Next slide. Here's one of our members. This is the muskie fishing event on Lake Minnetonka. Captain Gus and Craig Simpson, 42-inch muskie, nice muskie. Here's one of our waterfowl blinds down in the Minnesota Valley. I think we've morphed away from some of these. We actually get paraplegics into kayaks, and it's the most free they have felt in years. They just kayak off to where they want to hunt in a group, right? Where the ducks are, and people like me, so I'm a quadriplegic, I have a power chair. I don't feel comfortable getting down into a kayak, so they set me up. We're not using these big blinds like this anymore. We're using smaller blinds that are less noticeable to the ducks, we hope. But I've certainly been waterfowl hunting as well. Next slide. So this is me. Sorry, I'm the model. And this is with my waterfowl gun or my pheasant gun. So here I am in the back of a side-by-side ATV. This is one of our hunts that we do in April of each year over in Menominee. And they load me and other wheelchair users up into the back of these side-by-sides. They plant pheasants, so it's on a farm raised pheasants, and then they use pointing dogs to get to the pheasants. Once the pointing dog has found the pheasant, they pull the dog off and they maneuver me into position such that I can get a good shot on the pheasant. And the way I do that, I'm not strong enough to lift up a gun. So you see on the back end here, behind my head are some barbell weights, 30 pounds of weights. It actually pulls up on the front of my gun. I have good strength pulling down. So this is the setup that works for me. And the structure I made with a couple of friends to bolt onto my wheelchair. I also have a loop on the back of my gun stock that goes over my shoulder, and I use a bite trigger. My finger isn't strong enough to pull the trigger, so I have a bit that looks like an aluminum clothespin, and I put the open end in my mouth. When I bite down, it pulls a wire that pulls the trigger on my gun.
And Evan, I wonder if now might not be a good time to interject. And I know that there's a lot of misconception around what disability is and isn't. For example, when someone hears that someone is blind, they think that all they see is black. They see nothingness, nothing at all. When in actuality, a lot of people who are sight impaired can see light, can see shadows, have a small portion of their vision where they actually can see, just fine through that pinhole, for example. And this also extends to people who use wheelchairs. There's a real common misnomer that if someone's in a wheelchair, that means they can't walk or stand at all, but that's really, really not the case. What that can indicate is that someone outside of their home or even inside of their home to a certain extent requires a wheelchair because of strength and stamina issues, but they can in fact stand from time to time, maybe walk a short distance. In your case, you have mentioned that you're quadriplegic. I think a lot of people would think that means that from the neck down, there's absolutely nothing that you can use. But with you, it sounds like you can use your arms to a certain extent, but the strength to lift a firearm, for example, is outside of your ability. Did I get all of that right? Is there anything to add there just for clarity for the audience?
I think the only thing to add is that everybody's disability can be a little bit different, right? So you're right. I'm a quad, but I have some use of my arms and my hands.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And about how many, you've been hunting this away for a little while. You harvest every year, am I correct? You harvest fish, you harvest deer. I think you said the other day that waterfowl isn't as much your happy place as other types of hunting.
Correct.
But tell us about what personally are you on a regular annual basis? What are you getting out there when you go out?
Yeah, so when I do this pheasant hunt, I generally get one out of the six that are planted. But I have a backup shooter, whether it's my daughter or my son, and they usually clean up pretty well. Um, for deer, I feel very comfortable with deer hunting, and so I generally get a deer every year. This year I got a 12 point. The guy I was with said it was 16. I don't know. Buck down at the Minnesota Valley in Bloomington with my crossbow. And on my crossbow, I also use a bite trigger. And it was, I've hunted there for 10 season and it was fantastic to get a big buck there this year. And this is a buck I've never seen one this big before. So the guy I was hunting with after I shot it, he said, "Did you see how big it was?" I said, "No, I didn't look at the rack. You told me to shoot it, so I shot it." He said, "Good. Don't look at the rack because then you get the buck fever, right?" So it worked out pretty well for me this year.
That is amazing. Congrats on that harvest. And I see here we've moved ahead to another slide, and that's your deer hunting setup. Is that right?
Right, right. So I don't know if you can see all that well. This is the bit, the part I put in my mouth at the coming over the back of the stock. There's a yellow wire that goes all the way to the trigger. And that has improved my shooting a bit. I used to jerk the trigger because I wasn't strong enough. Now it's smooth as can be. And then I use this commercially available gun rest. It used to be from Caldwell, now it's from Bog Pod. And I put my shotgun, my rifle, my crossbow on that, and it bolts to my chair. For most people, it could just stand on the ground, but it is very smooth. I even got a walking deer the first year I used it, so I can move it smoothly, and it has upped my game quite a bit. So, a lot of people don't use this kind of equipment. One of our blind members does use this kind of equipment, but he's also got I don't know if he uses a cell phone or some kind of a screen behind his scope so that his able-bodied partner actually looks at that screen through the scope and helps him line up the deer. And when he's got the deer in the crosshairs correctly, he tells Mike to pull the trigger. Mike pulls the trigger. He's gotten deer. He's gotten flying ducks. I haven't seen that one myself, but he was ecstatic. And just there are different things that people need, and this works for me.
And is this the same sight impaired member that you were telling me about earlier this year who also hunts waterfowl?
Yeah, yeah, it is. And
Incredible.
he's gotten some ducks, some really nice ones. So, if anybody wants to participate, find out more about Capable Partners, give us a call or hit the website and talk to one of our coordinators, and we'll see what we can do to get you out and participating. A guy who's been in disability awareness for a long time described us as a group, a hunting and angling group that has been there and done that. As you can imagine, with 38 years of experience, we've pretty much seen it all, and if we haven't, we can help you figure it out.
Well, that's so great. That's so great, Evan. Thank you. And something else I wanted to touch on is that I've been hearing analysis lately around disability. You're getting applause and heart reacts from the audience. I don't know if you can see those on your end, by the way. But I've heard analysis around disability lately that people often think like, oh, that'll never happen to me. I'm healthy. I come from a healthy family. But the reality is that all of us at one point in our lives or another, whether temporarily or permanently, will experience disability. Whether we end up having, a knee injury and we're disabled during the healing and recovery from any treatment, or we get some sort of permanent disability that lasts forever. And so, I'm just wondering kind of your thoughts on that idea and around disability in general. And then do you have any sort of advice for disabled people who are they're just convinced? I mean, they're just convinced that they can't hunt or engage in fishing or any other outdoor sports. What would you say to them? Because, sometimes I'm disabled myself, people worry about being a burden. They worry about slowing people down. They worry about having too many needs, all that sort of thing. What do you have to say to folks about that kind of mindset?
If you have the desire to get out and participate in our outdoor activities, we will make it happen. All you have to have is the desire. And if you don't have the desire, I don't know what I can say. But yeah, we do consider that anybody is capable of becoming disabled at any time. We've had people who fall off roofs. We've had people in car accidents. Don't let that stop you. Get out, enjoy the lifestyle that you have enjoyed all your life. Our volunteers that are able-bodied are pleased to help. They find it as a very rewarding experience.
Amazing. We are going to have a Q&A later. I'm sure that folks will have more questions for you. The one thing I want to say before we just close out this section, though, is what about people who think, surely I am too disabled, surely my needs are too great, surely I'm too complicated a case, I don't want to bother capable partners with such complications? What would you say to them?
Give us a call. We've been there, we've done that.
Great.
We have a member who is a quadriplegic. He uses a sip and puff chair. He can't move his hands. He takes steer.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, great. Benji, I saw you came on camera there.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, I used to work a lot of disabled vets in the ski industry, and, necessity is the mother of invention, right? So the stuff that you guys come up with to enable some of the stuff is just amazing. It's little things. One of the fondest memories I have of working with a disabled skier that was in a chair, was trying to use a pommel lift. It's a little lift you have to pull down and sit on, and we had to rig up a little quick release for him to be able to do that. And once he practiced, it was phenomenal. But just being able to help out and do some of that stuff is so cool. So kudos to you and your group for going the extra mile and making this possible.
Thanks.
We were having a couple of technical difficulties with our next guest, so he is still trying to join. I've just been in contact with him now, but we're going to go ahead and move on. Unless, Benji, did you have anything else to add?
No, I have the video ready for Jamie's talk if you want to jump on there.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead and talk to Jamie McBride first about those all-terrain track chairs, and then we'll move on to Jamie Gangaware. We have a very full docket today, folks. Jamie, thanks for joining us. We have Jamie McBride, who serves in the Department of Parks and Trails, and like I said, he's going to talk about these really amazing all-terrain track chairs. I want to get my mom and myself in one of those and just tear around one of our parks personally. Jamie, we would love to hear a little bit more about you and the work you do with us and about these track chairs.
Sure, thank you. Can you hear me? Just to mic check, just to make sure. I see a nod. Okay, great.
Yes.
And my screen is presented, yes?
Yep.
Okay.
Slideshow would be great.
In slideshow, yeah, sure. So my name is Jamie McBride. I work in the Parks and Trails Division of the Minnesota State Parks, and Minnesota DNR, sorry. And so my position is a program consultant, and I have broad responsibilities in the Minnesota State Parks and operation, legislation, policy, and special projects. One of the special projects that I got assigned and was quite intimidating at first was to bring these track chairs to the Minnesota State Parks, or to bring some piece of adaptive equipment to the Minnesota State Parks. And I have a degree in outdoor recreation, and I took the universal design classes and know a little bit about ADA law, but I didn't have the experience to bring this sort of thing to the parks, and I wanted to do a great I wanted it to be great. And I mean, it's coming into this presentation after Evan talks. It really, your last statement of if you have the desire, we'll get you there. That's true for us too. If you have the desire to come to the state parks, we want to be able to try and eliminate the barriers to participation. And so we have one of the first things that we've done within the adaptive equipment is to expand opportunities to do that with adaptive equipment on trails that are largely considered to be inaccessible. And because I didn't have tons of experience in it, we really did connect with the Minnesota Council on Disability. They helped frame the understanding of operational inclusiveness and the independent exploration of the trails that we have for opportunity in the Minnesota State Parks. And one of the things that they've helped me understand is that just because we can't fix every accessibility problem doesn't mean we give up. It means that we come up with new ideas to try and break down a barrier. And so the effort to break down these barriers through pieces of equipment, as we also then make improvements in accessibility ADA standards, those two things can happen at the same time. So Minnesota Council on Disability was really helpful in that. They helped test the chair. They answered questions about capacity and limitations, helped frame eligibility, making eligibility available to the wide range of disability that exists out there. And even available for people who don't technically have disabilities but have limited mobility. For example, my mother is a very large person, doesn't walk very much, could come out and use the chairs if she wanted to. So that's kind of where we came from, and we did that from a place knowing that the parks are largely built at a time when inaccessibility and inclusiveness wasn't thought of. And so we have this system that we're trying to get more people out into. One of the things they helped us do is to define what the expectations are and what questions to answer for users. And so we've tested out where to go. We created maps at the parks that we've tested the track chair on, and we know that the track chair is capable of being there. We know that if a trail goes out to a waterfall, the track chair can get to that waterfall. It doesn't get to the stairway that leads to the waterfall and then leaves somebody in a track chair frustrated that they can't see the waterfall. We're getting to the main attraction on that trail. We're answering questions about trail length, park attractions, how to use it. We are giving a brief orientation, and some people who have their own motorized wheelchair, or powered wheelchair, they jump in the chair and they're like, got it, and then they're gone. And those that don't typically use a powered wheelchair for everyday living, they're the ones that need more orientation. We want to be able to help everybody get in the chair and feel comfortable out on the trails when they aren't near the staff, because it's an independent use piece. We'll help understand how to transfer. We do require that people be able to self-transfer into the chair, though we do have some transfer equipment. We have transfer boards that we purchased at the advice of Minnesota Council on Disability again, that you can transfer from one chair to another. And then we provide emergency information and make people sign a waiver. That's probably not surprising. And so anytime we're giving equipment out, we're making people sign a waiver and assumption of risk.
Well, that'll make sense, Jamie. Before you move on, I'm just curious, what's some of the feedback? And I know you have Don Pepper with you to also speak to this issue. Yep. Don, hi there. I see you there. We're looking forward to speaking to you in just a moment. Yep. What's the feedback that you're getting back from folks who are using these devices, and the feedback also from their families? Because I know in my family, there's a lot of places where I'd like to take my mom that I can access, but she can't, and so this to me is not only accessibility for individuals with disabilities, but it's accessibility for entire families, entire friend groups. What are you hearing from the folks who are using these chairs?
I'll say just a little bit about it, and then I want Dawn to talk about that because she sees it more than I do. I work in the central office, and then she sees it. But I've heard we've heard that it's life-changing, that people who are using these chairs are who were once left behind at the picnic shelters or the campgrounds are now out on the trails with their families. Where there was once an experience where they could be in the state park in a beautiful place on the hardened surfaces They're now able to get out into some of the more remote areas that the parks are known for. You can see a waterfall behind me on my screen. That we don't have a track chair at this park yet, but we want people to be able to get to those places and experience those types of experiences. And I'll let Dawn jump in at this point on this because she sees it quite a bit more than I do. And then we have a couple more slides to talk about because we have used it for hunting too. So anyway, go ahead.
Perfect. Dawn, welcome to you. And we'd love for you to introduce yourself and tell us what your role is and a little bit about the work you do in addition to talking about these chairs.
Absolutely. Thank you. My name is Dawn Pepper, and I am the acting park manager here at McCarthy Beach State Park. We are in the northeast portion of the state, about an hour and 10 minutes from Duluth to help place it for some people. We are fortunate enough to have a track chair to allow people to use the park. And we also, for the past 6 years, but during COVID, we didn't have one, but we hosted 5 accessibility hunts. And so we partner with a group called Access North, and they come in and they have hunters and peer mentors. And it's so powerful. We feel so privileged to be a part of this experience and to allow people to be as independent as they choose to be. During this past accessibility hunt, we borrowed track chairs from Itasca and Bemidji State Park. And so we had 3 here that were available for 3 of the hunters who had said they would be interested in having a track chair. They really have been great for allowing people to get a little bit further out. And we've had some small mishaps, but mishaps happen. So it's nice to see, we had one hunter, he was very tall, and our chair, the chair, they aren't meant, they're only so adjustable. And he slid out at the end of the first day of hunting. He was tired. He slid out. He didn't get hurt, fortunately, but that didn't deter him from coming back the next day. And so it was really awesome to, see that he was willing to give it another try. As far as our users of the track chair not during the hunt, we had a family in here this summer who were so wonderful to work with. And anyone that works in the state park knows the summers get long after a while, and the customer service and the moments, with this family are the things that really make your summer. But he became disabled as a child. And he told us after his week, and they used it for several days in a row, and we trailered it, sometimes took it to trails, or he just had it cruising around the beach and the campground. But he told us it was the first time he's been able to get out in the forest by himself since he was 8. And that's really powerful to step back and, and to know that he could have that moment. And even though he had all these moments also with his family, and they had a blast, with him being able to use it, him being able to do it independently was really, it brings tears to your eyes. And so, we're just really grateful to have it, and we look forward to having the program expanded to be able to get more people to use it, because the more people who use it, the more people who will start requesting it. We did have one guest who rented it for his mother who couldn't walk back and forth to the restrooms. And, she was very hesitant, something new. And by the end of the first day, she was like, "This is great." And she came back camping by herself the following weekend and
Wow.
used the track chair. So it really does, sometimes it just takes that opportunity to let somebody to have that chance to interact with it, to see that it really can open up doors, and it's not at all intimidating, that it was very easy to use, and it wasn't frightening once they had that opportunity. So
Well,
thank you
Dawn,
for
you make
allowing me to speak.
Well, absolutely. Thank you for speaking. And I was just going to say, you make such an important point because, a lot of people, when they think about disability, they rightfully think of the loss of ability, but it's not just the loss of ability that can occur with disability. It can be the loss of agency, the loss of independence, the loss of personal freedom, the loss of being able to just do the same things as the people around you in society, or your family and friends and loved ones, And so thank you for speaking to that point, because the fact that this person was able to get out into the forest alone for the first time since he was 8 years old as an adult is really like that's powerful, and that really is public service in my opinion to the nth degree. So thank you so much for sharing that with us and for coming to speak today. We may have some questions for you later from the audience.
Of course, absolutely.
I would
Great.
just jump in and say that we have these chairs in 13 sites, and every park staff that works with the chairs and the visitors that use them can tell a story like Dawn just told, where there's somebody that has not been able to experience a certain place since an injury or since they were born, and they're now able to do that.
Incredible.
And I'll just add one more thing. We got a based on the strength and success of the track chair program, and we got some funding through this Get Out More program, and I'm sure Jamie Gangaware will talk a little bit about that, because I think that her adaptive devices are through that funding as well. And we are looking to expand opportunities in multiple ways. On the screen here, you'll just see a number of them. We're looking at adaptive kayaks, beach chairs, non-motorized chairs, glasses, a lot of different mountain bikes. If there's an adaptive piece of outdoor recreation equipment, we're looking at it right now. Parks and Trails has $840,000 to spend on adaptive equipment, and we're going to use some of that to remove some of the simple infrastructure barriers that can expand the track chair or whatever piece of equipment we have, so that if there is a boulder in the way that blocks the track chair from going around it, we'll remove that boulder if it's possible. A lot of restrictions in place, and we'll make it so that the track chair can go on even more trails in existing locations. And if there are barriers for any of the other devices that you see on screen here that we end up purchasing, we will work to minimize those barriers through equipment and design. So
Wonderful.
I think that's what we have for today.
Well, thank you, Jamie and Dawn. And where should folks, if they want to inquire with you about possibilities for accessibility equipment or barriers that they're experiencing in a park they're frequenting and don't know what to do about, how should they get in touch with you?
You can reach out to me through let's see, how do I lost my screen that I was looking at. My name is Jamie McBride, McBride, and you can reach out to me through my email address, jamie.mcbride at state.mn.us, or if you just connected with the DNR Info Center. I don't know the Info Center email address. Those emails are almost always routed to me. You can also go to the all-terrain track chair page on the Minnesota DNR page, which I did put in the chat.
Awesome, thank you. And I think we can get some info for the Info Center put into the chat as well. Thanks again, you two. Please do stick around. I'm sure that folks will have questions for you near the end. We're going to circle back to our guest, Dale Tribby, who is one of the members of Capable Partners, who actually pairs with people with disabilities so they can go out hunting and fishing and doing all of the many activities that Capable Partners offers. Dale, thank you for joining us today. Oh, we can't hear you. Oh, it looks like you're muted there.
Okay.
There we go.
Thank you.
Hey, Dale. Hi.
Hi. So, yeah, I've been with Capable Partners probably 15 to 20 years. I've mostly worked as a helper on a lot of the hunts, but I've also been sitting with a person, like you said earlier, that is completely blind. He's been blind since birth. He's hunted, as Evan said, ducks. He actually has a 6x7 elk that he took 10 or 15 years ago that he's mounted on his wall through a special hunt in northern Minnesota through the DNR. But he is also, I believe, a family law attorney. He's hiked 1,700 miles of the Appalachian Trail and written a book about it called The Unseen Trail. He's a great person to hang around with too. And we've hunted together, I would say, about 10 years, taken maybe 6 or 7 deer, a couple of nice bucks. And again, he has the same style chair that Evan has, just a regular chair with the same style mount instead of a wheelchair. And it helps stabilize his rifle, or shotgun in this case. And he holds it as if he's shooting it, has his hand on the trigger when I tell him to, takes the safety off. and then I adjust the bottom of his stock until we're on target and tell him when to shoot. We've been successful probably about 60% of the time. It is a little difficult to keep everything lined up, and the timing between when I say shoot and when he pulls the trigger is a second or two the deer can move then. But it's been a great experience for me. I've been involved in shooting sports most of my life. I'm a DNR instructor. I am a NRA instructor and range safety officer, and I've done a lot of coaching on shooting and hunting throughout my whole life. And sitting with Mike and hunting, I have to say, taking an animal while he shoots is more exciting for me than it is shooting one myself, because it's such a challenge for him. And for me, it's gotten to be, I've gotten into bow hunting lately, which is a little more challenging for me, but I've taken quite a few deer through the years, and to see someone that has to struggle so hard to get something and getting it is just, it's just amazing for me.
That's so great, and I find that on mentored hunts as well. You know, the mentored hunt that I was on, it seems, my experience was very clearly way more important to my mentor than me, and I see this with mentors, like they really, and this seems very similar. The people who are there to assist and to teach, it just means so much to you folks that those of us who are benefiting from your expertise, have a successful harvest, and I love that. What do you have to say to able-bodied people who may be interested in volunteering with Capable Partners, but they think I don't know much about, I don't know anything about disability. I'm not disabled. Like I don't really know how to act around these folks. I'm afraid I'd do or say the wrong thing, and I wouldn't, like, what do you say to folks like that who otherwise would be interested in doing some of this work?
I would tell them that just go for it. I mean, I wasn't very experienced with handling people with disabilities at that time either, but they teach you a lot. They'll teach you mainly what they need. A lot of times they don't need a lot, and they'll tell you what they can do on their own. They do a lot of it on their own. They don't like to be helped when they don't need to. I always tell him, you just let me know when you need some help with something. And it's just amazing what they can do on their own. They've gotten so used to being without certain things that they've managed so well for so many years that it's just a great experience to be with them. I really cherish the time I've had helping out in these hunts, just because it's so rewarding to see them finally get something that they're really proud of. And I feel really comfortable with just about everybody I've worked with so far. And they tell me when they need to get out of the stand and do something, or if they need a little help getting something set up. That's what I would tell people. Just do it.
So it sounds to me like people don't have to have a lot of experience with this or really a lot of know-how around disability. They just need to be able to follow the lead of the person they're assisting.
That's correct.
Okay, awesome. And then what about people who have loved ones who are disabled or may have lapsed from outdoor sports as a result of their disabilities? What would you say to these folks?
I encourage people that have the ability or have this opportunity to take advantage of it, because every time I see someone who's disabled, I ask them if they are interested in hunting or fishing or ATVing and things that they can't do in their conditions. And I try to get them to join, because it's such an great opportunity for them, and it really makes them feel a lot better for themselves getting out there and doing the things that they may have done, younger years and can't do anymore. Great organization for that. Got to do it.
Awesome, thank you. The sense that I'm getting is and we kind of touched on this earlier in the show when we were struggling with tech difficulties getting you on board here. But Evan and I were talking, and I was kind of emphasizing, I'm also a person living with multiple disabilities, and I have a constant concern about burdening people, about having too many needs, about alienating myself. And so it can be really intimidating going into arenas or environments that are typically, historically, traditionally more able-bodied places. And so what do you say to folks who just worry, like, I'm going to be too much, like my needs are too much? As someone who's actually assisted people with significant need, what would you say to address those concerns?
I would say don't even think about that. There's a lot of people that are willing to help. And for me, it's more of during this deer season, it was trying to figure out who to work with because they had a few different people that needed assistance, and I had to kind of pick and choose which hunt I went on and who I was helping with it. But yeah, it's they should not feel that they're putting a burden on us to help them out. It's something we love to do, and there's always someone that can do it. There's always someone that's willing to help.
Awesome. Anything else you want to let us know about Dale? Anything else you want to add or speak to?
No, not that I can think of. Just that I tell everybody about this organization, and I'm really happy with all the additional equity items that the DNR is providing in these parks and all over the place. Getting those abilities out there for people to use without them having to purchase them is just a great thing.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm sure that folks will have questions for you. So if you don't mind sticking around with us for the Q&A, getting
Sure.
some applause there some applause and some love from our audience. Thanks again, Dale. I really appreciate you coming on today. Benji, if you wouldn't mind, we could go ahead and show that news clip to lead into talking with Jamie Gangaware.
I will try to do that.
Okay, great. And we just have a news clip here from September about these. Well, I'll just let it speak for itself. I don't want to ruin the surprise.
Was able to take part. I've been hunting with Capable Partners for 20 years or more, and have wonderful experiences every time.
Barry Height is like many Minnesotans. When the hunting season starts, he wants to be part of the action. But unlike many hunters, Height is in a wheelchair. Thanks to groups like Capable Partners, Height has been able to continue hunting.
When Capable Partners first started, it was basically just buddying up able-bodied people with disabled people and giving them an opportunity to go fishing.
For more than a decade, Capable Partners has partnered with the Minnesota DNR. In doing so, they've advocated for better accessibility in the field through things like wheelchair-accessible hunting blinds. It's all part of a larger effort called Get Out More.
In 2023, the Minnesota legislature committed to an incredible investment opportunity to create more opportunities for Minnesotans to get out more and enjoy the outdoors.
Specifically, the DNR has been granted $5 million in one-time funding to expand accessibility for hunting and fishing.
The big part of it is also accessibility to the outdoors. So at a site like this, we have a fishing pier on the water. Leading up to it, we've got a paved trail that connects around to the parking on the street.
Things that make a big difference for people like Height.
All because of hard work like Jerry does and the DNR does to cut these fields and cut the corn and make sure we have nice places to sit. It's such a blessing. So thankful for it.
Reporting in Rosemount, I'm Quinn Gorham.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Benji. And so we are fortunate today to be joined also by Jamie Gangaware, who is the Wildlife Operations Manager here in the Division of Fish and Wildlife. Jamie, we'd love to hear a little bit more about the work that you do with us here at the DNR and these accessible blinds.
Great. Thanks, Andrea. So again, Jamie Gangaware, you got a lot of Jamies on today. I operations manager for the section of wildlife, and so I get to oversee statewide wildlife management area like policy and things like this Get Out More program, accessibility, larger scale efforts. I started at the field level. I've worked in a few different area wildlife offices, and the last one I worked in was out of Cambridge, where we had one WMA that's dedicated just to disabled hunters. And so it really kind of started a passion for me to just do what we can to make these wildlife management areas more accessible for all users and all times of the year, which is they are public lands. So you can be out there all year long. Yeah, and so with Get Out More, which was authorized by the legislature last year, so 2024, we received in to increase accessibility on wildlife management areas. And one of those target areas are to purchase additional hydraulic blinds like you saw in that video. That one was donated over 20 years ago, I think now. It's been around longer than I have been with the DNR, by the Paralyzed Veterans of America, and it was donated for use, and we schedule it with capable partners. It travels during the deer hunting season on several different WMAs within the Region 3, which is our central region. And those hunts, those special hunts are, again, scheduled through capable partners. And they're usually used in conjunction with other blinds, static blinds, like ground blinds that are on those WMAs. Yeah, so we're really excited. We've got to get out more coordinator that's starting here in a couple weeks. That's going to just like zoom us through and get us through a few more projects that we have in the works for accessibility on wildlife management areas.
Good stuff. And then, so a couple things that I think I'm correct on, but correct me if I'm wrong, Jamie. So this particular hydraulic lift blind that we just saw in the news, that was a gift to capable partners some 10 years or something. And that's specifically for use between capable partners and in conjunction with the DNR. Is that correct?
Right. So it's for use on wildlife management areas in Region 3 on WMA, so public lands for public hunting opportunities.
Okay, perfect. And then just to clarify, these special hunts that you do that are geared toward their accessible hunts, some of these happen actually outside of the regular seasons. Is that correct?
They do. Yep. There are some early season hunts. There are some hunts that happen in sanctuary areas of WMAs where, you know, typically that's not an allowable activity. And so, yeah, you know, we do what we can to create those opportunities, create a quality hunt. You know, we don't want to, it's not just like lip service, right? We want to make sure that, you know, we're doing what we can to provide those opportunities like we've heard from today, and make it really impactful for all users.
Well, it sounds to me like it's working. Is there anything else you'd like to add just about this whole overall topic, or the work you do, or things you've experienced, or things you've heard from people who've experienced the work that you do? Anything at all?
Yeah, you know, there is in the chat, there's a link that goes right to the Get Out More. So there's 2 pages, the 2 links, Get Out More in general, because it was over $100 million coming to the DNR for many different opportunities. Specifically, it's called, and I'm looking to my right to get it right, the Enhancing Access and Welcoming New Users. And that's where we're finding the $4 million that's dedicated to improvements on wildlife management areas. So if you're interested and you wanted to read up more about what's coming in the next couple of years while that funding is available, that's where you can do it. And Jamie McBride, you know, that's part of what he was talking about as well on state parks. And I would just say that I think every wildlife office across the state has an impactful moment with, you know, helping disabled hunters get out and have the experience, or helping to provide those opportunities. And it really does, it's something that we kind of hold close to us. So there's a lot of excitement across the state to have the funding to do these types of projects.
So awesome. Thank you for the work you do in solidarity with disabled people. And thank you all for the work you're doing in solidarity with disabled people. It really means so much to see all of this work happening to increase access. Yeah, if everyone would like to come back on camera, we're going to put a couple of resources in the chat. We have a Fishing in the Neighborhood guide that does have some limited accessibility information for the metro area. And then we have a link also, I don't know if that actually went in there before, but to those all-terrain track chairs that we mentioned earlier. And we would love to just open it up. We have 11 minutes left. We would love to open it up for questions. Or Benji, if there are any questions you answered in the chat that you think would be good to answer out loud here again for everyone, yeah, let's take it away with those questions.
We don't have too many questions yet, so if anybody does have questions, please put them in the chat. Kristen did put the info center phone number in there, which is awesome. We also put that in the chat there, so people can click on that. And Michelle says that's awesome. I don't even see any deer to shoot this year. She didn't even see any deer, so she was pretty excited about the big buck you guys got. So, and both Andrea and Jamie, one thing I really like, I do the Learn to Hunt programs also, and having those outside of the regular hunting firearm season is a huge benefit for our mentors, the people that want to come and help out, because it doesn't mess up their normal hunting routine that they do maybe with family or friends or whatever. They can come out and help get out in the woods, do a little scouting. For me, it's a good reminder of getting tree stands set, safety equipment stuff, do that earlier rather than scrambling around the day before the hunt season and going, oh my goodness, where's all this stuff? I've already been out. I know where all my stuff is, got it prepared. So that part is really nice. So kudos to everybody for working it and setting those up. It does take a little bit of work, right? I forget what the deadline is, Jamie. It's like April or June or something. We get deadlines in for these early hunt dates. So it is something we plan quite a ways in advance to get those, but I think it's well worth it, obviously. So
Thanks, Benj.
Okay.
We hear a lot about inclusion, the idea of inclusion. And I think it's just so important to add that for myself, in order for me to feel welcome or included as a disabled person, it's really important to me that the space is accessible. It's one thing to be invited into a space or into an activity that I can no way and participate in. It's another thing to be invited into something where the accommodations are present. It's made known that accommodation is available. There are accessibility devices there for my use and for others' use. And generally just to see that, like, not only have I been invited, but I've been considered and my unusual needs have been considered. And so that's just a seed to plant for folks who are trying to increase access and inclusivity in their work, is that it takes more than an invitation for people with different needs or enhanced, increased needs to be able to feel welcome in a space. It takes accessibility. That access makes us feel welcome. Do we have any other questions there, Ben?
Our friend Jeff put one in there.
Oh, great.
Are there free or reduced license opportunities for people with disabilities?
Oh. Who do we ask that question to?
Yeah. So I think it's a little different, and Jamie, you can probably correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not for sure on the park side if you guys have free or reduced passes.
We do.
Okay.
The state park vehicle permit is a reduced vehicle permit. I believe it's, Dawn, do you know, $12 as opposed to $35? Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And then camping, you can get reduced camping.
On Sunday through Thursdays, the sites are half price.
Oh, wow. And so does this require disabled plates or disabled tag, or what, or like a letter from a doctor saying like, yep, this person is disabled? What does that require?
Go ahead, Don. You go.
Oh, thank you, Jamie.
Yeah.
For the permit itself, for the annual park permit for a vehicle, it does require some kind of a tag or a plate. So we usually have people they'll bring in their placard, or if they have them on the vehicle, then we'll just look outside and take a look at it. And that's all that's required. As far as the reduced rates, we have always there's an option when people are booking, if they come in day of, and there's an option for us to be able to slide the fee thing to show that it's a disability rate. I'm not sure about at the from the call center side, if people make reservations ahead of time, I don't think that they ask for any kind of verification. They just kind of do it on an honor system, but I'm not sure about that for sure.
And for the parking, what about people who are disabled but they don't qualify for disabled parking? Because there's plenty of that going around. It's pretty stringent actually to be able to get a tag. What about folks like that?
At this current time, the only other tags that we have, we offer to service-connected disabilities of any sort. People can get a free parking permit for the year for that. Otherwise, as far as the more unseen disabilities, we do not have any permitting that has addressed that, or has if you would just come in and you would have to pay the full $35 for an annual pass.
Oh, that seems like maybe a gap that we should look at addressing in future years. I would love to assist with that. I'm sure there's a way we can find around that, so we are not excluding some disabled people in the group. Okay, well, do we have any other questions there in the chat, or any questions at all, Benji, that we're seeing?
No, I don't think we do have any. And Jamie, did you have any news on the licensing side? I know we do have some, if you're a disabled veteran, there's a reduced license fees for some hunting and stuff, but I'm not for sure otherwise.
Right. Yeah, we do offer for service related disabilities and or 100% disabled hunters can get permits to shoot from motor vehicles. So you can call the info center. I know we put the contact information in the chat if you're interested in finding out how to arrange that. And then there are, if you look at and I can put a link in the chat as well, where to find our regulations. There's also antlerless, for areas that have a lottery for antlerless deer. If you have if you're 100% disabled, you don't need to put in for the lottery for those, but you do still need to buy a license.
Okay, great, Jamie. And what does 100% disabled mean in this context?
I don't think I can answer that for you right now, Andrea. I'm just telling you, I'm reading exactly what our legislation says. So
that is something I will look into. That
defines.
That was a really good answer to that question. Thank you.
That's defined by the military, right?
Oh.
Yeah,
really?
that's for veterans.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Right, because that's linked to the service. Yep.
Certainly, that would make a lot of sense. Okay, great. Thank you for that, Evan.
Andrea, I also know that if you're on Social Security disability income, you can get a free annual fishing license.
Oh, wow. Okay. Good to know. We need to get all these resources put into one place up there on the internet so everybody can see everything that's accessible to them. I certainly feel more valued in the state of Minnesota as a disabled person than I did before this webinar. I don't know about anybody else. Thank you very much to all of our guests. Thank you very much to the DNR staff who took your time out of your day to join us today, especially given that I got in touch in rather short notice with you all. So thank you for stepping up. It's awesome to have you all here with us and know that you're working together with us on accessibility and for you to bring your expertise. Thank you to our guests, Evan and Dale from Capable Partners, and for all the work you are doing, all that you're contributing to disability access in the outdoors in Minnesota. And thank you to Benji for all your work putting together this webinar with me today. And to our lovely audience, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks everyone. I know Kristen had a quick question in there. I want to get to that real quick. Does the person that is helping with the disabled hunter also need a hunting license? We do not require hunting licenses for mentors, so that would not be the case. A little bit different in fishing. If you're actually reeling stuff in for people, then you would have to do that. So
you would have to get a fishing license to reel in. Is that what you mean?
Yep. If you're actually reeling in a fish for somebody to help out in that way, you would have to get a fishing license for that. That's an area you have to watch, but I see Kelly Strock put a link in there for our special licenses also. So thanks everybody for joining us today. It is a very important day tomorrow. Actually, it's Give to the Max Day in Minnesota. So if you are passionate about this, Give to the Max Day in Minnesota is tomorrow. So get out there. Next week, we are talking about perch in how they're doing in Minnesota and a little bit about perch fishing in Minnesota next week. So looking forward to that. It's almost ice season. We had a little bit of snow over here in the metro area today. So everybody be safe out there, get outdoors and bring somebody with you. So see you next week.
Awesome. Thank you, Benji. Thanks also to Cassie Hawkinson for all your work on this webinar today.